Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and today we're doing a very special episode. We're doing a Q&A ahead of the trade deadline, talking about all of your trade concerns, team concerns, whatever it may be. I put out a tweet last week asking if anyone had any questions, putting the hashtag AskFSY for a chance to be featured in this episode. If you aren't following our Twitter page and you want to be involved in these kinds of episodes, get your questions out there and get answers from us and our co-hosts, you guys can make sure to check out our Twitter. It's in the description in below. You guys can also check out our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on our post notifications so you know the next time we upload a video. We did some draft content yesterday. We've got some more stuff coming out regarding the deadline and everything of the sort. So you do not want to miss out on what we're cooking. But with that being said, let's get underway with the questions. And the first question we're going to answer here is from Hal to Hell. What would your ideal trade deadline on a budget be? Can't spend more than $10 million in salary, no eating money by other teams. That's a great question. And with that hard limit, we're going to take about 50% of the payroll for a player. So for example, if you were to acquire a player making $10 million a year, you would actually only take on $5 million in salary because you're only getting roughly half the season of production there. I'm pretty sure the actual number is less, but here's my deadline plan if we were to have those restrictions. So to address my rotation needs, I'm going to go get Jack Flaherty. He's going to cost $7 million for the rest of the season, approximately. A little less than that, but we're just going to use the 50% threshold. I'm also looking at luxury tax salary, not payroll, because that's the thing we have to worry about, the luxury tax. Brendan Lowe only costs $2 million towards luxury tax the rest of the year. If we use that 50% number, again, you're only paying for half their season roughly. Kyle Finnegan from the Washington Nationals to bolster my bullpen at $2.5 million. And that pushes us over $10 million, except I'm going to trade Gleyber Torres to the Giants for Taylor Rogers. Don't know if the value in that trade makes sense, but the Giants don't really have like a good second baseman. They're kind of in it. Taylor Rogers is like a good left-handed reliever. He makes less than Gleyber. I get $1.6 million back. So when you add all of that together, you end up with just a hair under $10 million added to your payroll, and your bullpen is significantly better, your rotation gets better, and your lineup gets a big left-handed bat. That's all depending on the Rays selling, though, and I'm not 100% sure they're going to. So I hope I answered your question appropriately, but if I were to have an under $10 million deadline, and again, give myself a little liberty here with who's available or not, that's what I would do. Moving on, though, we have another question, this time from @RJNYY0, my boy Ryan. He asks, what do you think it would take to acquire Jonathan India, Tanner Scott, and Andrew Nardy? Now, I do think for India, you're parting ways with a top 100 prospect because he has 2.5 years of control. He is a former Rookie of the Year winner, so the name value is still there. And he is about a 3-WAR player. Would I be comfortable trading? Like, I'm not saying like a surefire top 100 guy, just kind of like an on the fence top 100 guy. And then probably two more players, like 2 more top 30s. Scott, I think it costs you 2 top 30s. Nardy, I think it costs you like a Scott Efros kind of deal where the Yankees traded Haiti Wenesneski. He was like a top 15 guy in their farm, and kind of 1-for-1 with Efros. Although Nardi does have 1 fewer year of control and his ERA isn't pretty right now, so maybe you can get him for the cheap. But I don't think it would blow up your farm. You would just be trading a lot of the depth in your farm to get those 3 players who I think fit the Yankees very well. This is from @Anashi_Maps24. What kind of offer do you think it would take to acquire Matt Chapman and someone like Hunter Harvey? So obviously this was 6 days ago. Hunter Harvey, unfortunately, has been traded since to the Kansas City Royals. It took a competitive balance pick to get him, which is a top 40 pick, which I find to be insane value. But for Matt Chapman, I don't think it would cost you a lot because he can opt in, and that kills his value. So he can opt in to the next year of his deal. The Yankees do not control that. And if he opts into an $18 million deal for 1 more year, that tells you that he didn't perform very well. So the Yankees take on the risk of a guy coming in, stinking it up, and then eating $18 million of your payroll next year. So I think you would be trading, a couple top 30 guys, maybe, a top 15 and a top 20, but I don't think it's going to cost you August Ramirez to go get Matt Chapman. I don't think it's going to cost you even Chase Hampton to go get a guy like Matt Chapman. I think it's going to cost you like maybe, I think a deal headlined by, someone like a Will Warren, like maybe it's just Will Warren and another guy for Chapman. I could see that, but it's not going to be the type of trade that blows up your farm system, especially considering the contract. The contract is the thing that really kills his value, but I think he's truly a perfect fit for the Bronx Bombers. He's a great hitter. A great hitter is a stretch. He's a good hitter. He's a great defender. He's a good base runner. He's an all-around really strong player. He's the kind of guy that fits the Yankees well. He barrels the crap out of the ball. I think it could be a game changer for the Yankees. But yeah, the price, I don't think it'd be too high. We've got a question from @Stegin Survivor. Is Ryan Garcia taking any supplements for his height? From @Allen Enjoyer, I also love Josh Allen. That's a great quarterback right there. What should the Yankees do at third base? So this is an interesting question. I'm not fully sold on what they should do at third. I'm not saying I'm not fully sold on moving on from LeMahieu. I am fully sold on LeMahieu not starting another game as soon as the All-Star break continues. Unfortunately, set down Jordan Vivas, so he will be starting. Now, there are two things they could do. Number one, go get a big-time second baseman and then put John Birdie at third and kind of hope it works. I can live with that. Because Birdie is fast. They need speed, good defender. They need good defense there. I know LeMahieu is a good defender, but like if you're trading LeMahieu off and you're getting a really bad defender, that kind of messes up the dynamic of your run prevention. And Birdie can hit a little bit. Like he's like a 95 WRC plus hitter. I can live with that. I don't know who, like I mentioned Brandon Lowe. I don't know if he's available. I know Luis Rengifo is a popular target, but I don't think he's a big enough difference maker. Matt Chapman, you could kind of have Matt Chapman play third, and then you have Torres play second or Birdie play second or whatever it may be. But I think that it's either go get a big second baseman and move Birdie to third, or get a big third baseman and just kind of have second base be between LeMahieu, Torres, and Birdie. Even though I do think Torres and Birdie are going to 100% be better players than LeMahieu will be for the rest of the year. So that's kind of my answer at third. I think Matt Chapman's a great fit. If you want to just get a straight up third baseman, I know Isaac Paredes is a superstar. That dude would be an unbelievable addition, but I don't see that happening. Just kind of looking at the rest of the infield landscape, like, I mean, you could speculate on a guy like Ha-Seong Kim, but he doesn't really bring the bat you're looking for. More of a glove first guy. The rest of the infield market is pretty cut and it's pretty dry. So you're gonna have to get pretty creative, and I hope the Yankees are able to pull off something because they need support there for sure. Zachary Goldstein 4, what are some outside of the box or under the radar pickups you could see us acquiring at the trade deadline if prices are a little too high or Cashman finds something? So Taylor Rogers is somebody I really like. I'm a big fan of Taylor Rogers. I think he's a good left-handed reliever. I just mentioned him, when talking about like a under $10 million deadline plan. I mentioned Brandon Lowe. I know that's not really under the radar. In terms of relievers, John Brebbia from the White Sox. Like I know everyone's talking about fixing Michael Kopech. I'm not a Michael Kopech guy. He's just like, I don't know, like the results have never really been there. On the pitching side of things, Yusei Kikuchi, maybe he's interesting. I know he just gets hit so hard that I don't love it, but I would be willing to have him as like a depth piece. Sean Manaea is interesting. I've always been a Sean Manaea guy, and you need lefties, so I wouldn't hate that. 3.46 ERA, 3.75 FIP. Like the strikeout to walk rates aren't elite, but I think he's a solid pitcher. He hasn't really taken the leap I thought he could. I'm not really a fan of like a reunion with Severino. I don't think the strikeout rates are good enough for that to happen. There are plenty of interesting guys in this market. Like Zach Eflin is a guy that I think his name will float out there, and I'm interested in acquiring Zach Eflin, but not overly impressed. I think the top guys in the market where the Yankees should shop. That's where they need to be going for, because this is a World Series caliber team. You've got to invest in it like that. I'm not saying they shouldn't take flyers, but that should be in the bullpen. Maybe they still do need one like for sure lockdown arm. But like in terms of like a rotation, I have some flyers in my rotation already. I kind of need, I need a Jack Flaherty, a guy who's already punching dudes out. Like Evaldi, who's a proven major league starter, who is the top of the rotation starter, that kind of thing. For the offense side of things, I need a bat. Like I need a guy like Brandon Lowe who can mash. If you're talking about like depth outfielders, maybe the Yankees go out and swing for a trade for somebody who, can kind of spell Verdugo some time. Taylor Ward's obviously interesting, but I think his price tag is going to be too high for him to be like an under the radar guy. I think a team with bigger outfield issues may go after him. I'm trying to just think of guys off the top of my head. You could maybe, Jazz Chisholm's obviously a fun name. I like Jazz. I'm not sure I'm in love with it, but I like it. You have Cody Bellinger's going to be out there. Like, I don't know if he's going to get traded, but, I guess he's a name you can talk about as interesting. Nolan Gorman is somebody I have interest in because he has huge power and he plays the infield, but his defense is really bad and the strikeout rates are a problem. So, I don't know if he kind of fills more of that project role and not necessarily a, proven masher. Speaking of Jazz Chisholm, what prospects would it take to get Jazz Chisholm in pinstripes? This is coming from @Malik Lander 77. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I think like prospect value is subjective. You know, it all depends on the organization you're talking to. Kind of the same. Like, I think he should have less value than Jonathan India. But I don't think he has no value. I know that the Marlins, I think he's going to get traded for less than people think. Like, I don't think you're going to see like August Ramirez not being involved in this deal. You know, there's not going to be a like we're not seeing, you know, a George Lombard Jr. in this trade. We're going to see, you know, the I guess like the Jared Sernas of the world, right? Where like they're fringe top 10 guys in this organization, maybe a Brock Selvage, but it's probably like one top 10, a top 20, and a top 30. Like that's kind of the basis of that deal in my head. He has 2.5 years of control. We got 2 straight years where he's like barely above average as a hitter, and I still have to see the second base production. I like Jazz. I think Jazz would get better with the Yankees because the swing is better built for New York than Miami. But I'm not trading for what could be. I'm trading for what I think I'm going to get out of him. And based on all the data, like the projections are like, yeah, he's an okay hitter, right? And that's better than what we have at second. But it's not top 100 prospect worthy, if that makes sense. I wouldn't trade the farm for him. Moving on, we have a question from @RandyNPO. Any teams asking about Verdugo? Is he available? After all, he's a free agent at the end of the year. And who's untouchable? Jones, Arias, Jason Dominguez. So I don't have any information on Verdugo or any trade scoops at all. So I can't really answer on that. And as for untouchables, I don't believe in an untouchable. Jason Dominguez is the most valuable prospect of that group. But he can be traded if the right player is available. That's my answer for every prospect. There's no such thing as untouchables. So yeah, but I really appreciate the question. That's kind of my mentality. Next question, we have Trail of the Day 23. Would you leave Ryan Garcia ESM in to face Aaron Judge for a third time? So, you know, sweeper, I think the sweeper down and away, that's probably the pitch I'd go to. You know, locate the sinker in, establish that inside part of the plate. I think I'd have Judge sat down on like 3 or 4 pitches, maybe 5 if I miss a spot, but. And then we're going to take one last question here from this group. And by one last question, I mean, I took all the questions here, but there is one last question. Do you get tax benefits by employing legal little people?
You got me.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys enjoying this episode, watching this episode. If you felt like your questions were answered, I appreciate that. And I hope, you know, we got to everything you guys wanted us to get to. You know, if you guys have any more questions, we're going to be doing another segment like this, probably around the trade deadline ending or after, to go over kind of our thoughts on these players or whatever it may be. We could do a draft one. Again, if you guys want that kind of content, let us know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Perfect.